What if one day something falls from the sky and it's not a meteor, but the beginning of an invasion? Today I'm going to talk about The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, a science fiction novel published in 1898 that still feels surprisingly modern. This story takes place in England, where strange objects start falling from the sky. At first, people think they are meteors, but they are actually capsules from Mars. Inside them are Martians, intelligent beings with advanced technology far beyond human capabilities. They begin to attack using giant machines called tripods, destroying everything in their path. This story follows an unnamed narrator who is trying to survive while society collapses around him. This book doesn't focus on traditional hero. Instead, the narrator is an ordinary man, which makes the story feel more realistic. He reacts with fear, confusion, and sometimes even panic, just like any normal person would in that situation. One important character is his brother, who lives in London and experiences the invasion from a different perspective. Through him, we see how chaos spreads in the city and how people try to escape. There is also a priest who represents how some people react emotionally to disaster. He becomes overwhelmed by fear, loss, and loses control, showing how extreme situations can affect the human mind. Another interesting character is the artilleryman. At first, he seems brave and determined, and he talks about rebuilding civilization underground. However, as the story progresses, we realize that his plans are not very realistic, which shows how hope can sometimes turn into illusion. Through these characters, H.G. Wells shows different human reactions to fear, panic, denial, hope, and survival instinct. The main themes of the book include fear of the unknown, human vulnerability, survival, and the power and danger of technology. Overall, the characters are not heroes. They are just people trying to survive, and that makes the story feel more intense and believable. In my opinion, The War of the Worlds is a very interesting story, especially considering when it was written. Even though it's an old novel, it still feels relevant today. What I like the most is the suspense. The tension builds up as the invasion progresses, and it really makes you imagine what it would be like to live through something like that. I also like the descriptions of the Martians and their machines because they make these scenes feel more real. Another thing I found interesting is message of the story. It shows that humans are not always in control, and that idea makes the book more impactful. On the other hand, some parts feels a bit slow, and there isn't a lot of dialogue, which might make it less exciting for some readers. Even so, I ones are not always in control, and that idea makes the book more impactful. On the other hand, some parts feels a bit slow, and there isn't a lot of dialogue, which might make it less exciting for some readers. Even so, I will recommend this book, especially if you like science fiction or stories about survival. The War of the Worlds is not just a story about aliens. It's a story about how humans react when they lose control. So, let me ask you, do you think humanity will survive an alien invasion? Thanks for listening. And remember, the next time you look at the sky, you might wonder what's really out there.